will President Biden and his administration backtrack and finish building President Trump's border wall? It appears tonight the White House and Homeland Security are very quietly considering restarting the project that liberals have spent the last 5 years kicking and screaming over. Can you even imagine how hilarious this is going to be if it happens? DHS Secretary Alejandro Mayorkas has evidently been telling others in his department this is a possibility. The Washington Times reporting today Biden's DHS may restart border wall construction to plug gaps. That according to notes from an ICE meeting obtained by the paper. Mayorkas allegedly telling his department while President Biden has canceled the border emergency and halted Pentagon money flowing to the wall, quote, that leaves room to make decisions on finishing some, quote, gaps in the wall. President Trump was actually on our air this afternoon. Maybe nobody more shocked by this than him. We all remember the tidal wave of outrage directed at him by the media, by the left, over the wall. Today, Trump encouraged Biden to finish the job. Here he is with our own Heather Childers.
Well, I think it's great that they reversed themselves, but a lot of damage was done because we were going to have that wall almost complete. It delayed 2.5 years because of lawsuits. The Democrats sued us in Congress, many suits, and we won all of the suits, and we started building it, and we were almost finished, and then they called an end to it, and it's just incredible. Mm-hmm. But if they agree that they're going to complete it, it's very little to complete. If they agree that they're going to complete it, that's a great thing. That's a very positive step.
So we're not there yet. They're just talking about filling the gaps in, but you all know where it goes from there. Things tend to escalate when you have a common sense idea like this to a huge problem. And it sounds like a majority of Americans are now agreeing with President Trump. This is amazing to me. A recent poll from the Senate Opportunity Fund showing 53% of Americans support the finished construction of the wall. That's amazing. And with stories like we're seeing on the southern border right now, it's really no surprise. Americans watching this ridiculous self-inflicted disaster, watching a Democrat virtue signal destroy our national security, destroy our southern border, communities along the border. It's easy to imagine an even greater majority supporting the wall in the very near future if this nonsense continues. Press Secretary Jen Psaki was asked about that today.
Wall construction was being challenged in multiple lawsuits, for much of the wall, I should say, not all of it, by plaintiffs who allege serious environmental and safety issues. Under those circumstances, federal agencies are continuing to review wall contracts and develop a plan to submit to the president soon. It is paused. There is some limited construction that has been funded and allocated for, but it is otherwise paused.
Environmental and safety issues. Remember the butterfly story from a couple years ago? You remember this? The butterfly sanctuary that the border wall might threaten. One of the million ways Democrats tried to stop this racist, fascist, Nazi wall. That's what they're talking about. The rest of America, the common sense crowd, is worried about a migrant surge of low-wage workers who don't speak English, thousands of kids that need to be adopted in this country, drugs, and also Mexican cartels getting very rich and powerful off of this administration. But again, and I say this all the time, all that matters is politics in Washington, not reality. Reality doesn't matter. All these people really care about is elections and winning them. And something is happening. The tide is turning on this issue. Americans are done being charitable on immigration. You see it right there. 53% support finishing the wall. It's a great number. Americans are done killing ourselves with kindness. Common sense people on both sides of the aisle see this as a disaster. No doubt the Biden team is realizing that. They've got the best pollsters working inside the White House. And that's why this incredible, unbelievable, hilarious about-face is happening. But before we welcome Alejandro Mayorkas to the border with his big sledgehammer ready to restart construction, let's take a look back at just how awful, fascist, racist, anti-immigrant, Nazi, end of the world the wall was not so long ago.
Not doing a wall. Does anybody have any doubt that we're not doing a wall? So that's it.
Are you worried about backlash? Are you worried about backlash?
No, it has nothing to do with politics. It has to do with the wall is an immorality between countries.
I'm going to be introducing a plan tomorrow to take every dime that the president is now spending on his racist wall.
It is a wall that is racist.
Clowns. Just a bunch of clowns. Yes, it's racist to have borders, effective borders. You know why other countries don't have border walls, by the way? Because they don't need them. They don't have this problem. If any other country had thousands and millions of people coming in illegally every year, they'd have a wall too. It's not a problem anywhere. We just have a situation here, and that's why this is happening. Just like it's racist to ask people to vote for ID, it's also racist to have a wall. This is what it is. Everything's racist now. We know that. The problem for Biden is, though, this story goes beyond scared little kids that appeal to America's big bleeding heart. The story goes way beyond that. I'm talking about drugs that kill Americans by the thousands coming through right now. A lot of it coming through. And now apparently terrorists are as well, or potential terrorists. Look at this. Border Patrol releasing the photos of these two Yemeni citizens on the FBI's terrorism watch list. One was caught last week entering in Calexico, California, right around where they found another Yemeni man on the no-fly list, arrested in early January. So these guys come all the way from Yemen, go all the way to Mexico to come into this country. Why? They're on the no-fly list. Think about that. Why? Nothing to worry about, according to the White House.
How concerned is President Biden about terrorists possibly trying to take advantage of gaps in the border to get in and kill Americans?
Well, first let me convey that these type of incidents are very uncommon, and CBP and DHS can speak more to the timeline and the specifics, of course. So while this is rare, this is a reflection of them doing their jobs.
Very uncommon. So how many does it take, by the way, to commit an act of terror? I guess the terror threat is nothing to Jen Psaki, of course, and they'll get away with that. They'll say that because the media doesn't care about terrorism. They couldn't care less, as we learned last Friday with the car attack on Capitol Hill. We told you last night that story has disappeared. It never happened. But what about the thousands of unaccompanied children in those facilities like the one in Donna, Texas? Now, the media has been forced to care about that. The Border Patrol reporting 171,000 border encounters last month alone. 171,000 people illegally came into this country in a month. That's insane. It includes children and adults. The House GOP is back there on the ground on the border today, tweeting out more photos like these. The House Judiciary Committee tweeting out these stats about the Donna facility alone, just one facility, 10 times over capacity. 40% of border agents are now caregivers, having to do that kind of work instead of the job they're supposed to be doing. 20,000 kids have arrived to the Donna facility. 20,000 kids now that are going to have to be adopted somewhere in this country. Think about that. 2,000 people coming in a day into that facility, a 5,400% increase in drug smuggling. Isn't this great? Open borders. What a great policy. With pressure like this, Biden may have no choice but return to Trump's policies, wall and all. If they want any shot at getting reelected, they want any shot in 2022. Of course, if they do this, it'll have a huge spin. They'll pose it as a completely different, more humane border security. Their media lapdogs will nod and agree, as they always do. But even the liberal Washington Post acknowledges what is going on right now. Agents telling the Post, quote, nearly 1,000 people per day are sneaking into the United States without being identified or taken into custody because U.S. border agents are too busy attending to migrant families and unaccompanied kids while also trying to stop soaring numbers of male adults. And with them, of course, come the drugs. So you got 1,000 people that aren't even being looked at, that are just getting right through. The House Judiciary tweeted this picture of $8.4 million worth of meth. $8.4 million in meth. It's a lot of meth. That was seized from just one smuggling trip alone, and this is happening all over. The cartels are flourishing off of this, and they have been for months. This is their moment. They're loving life. From the Biden administration, though, on this, silence. There's been absolutely no action on this. Joe Biden, Kamala Harris avoid this topic at all costs. Anytime the border is brought up, Jen Psaki dodges the question. It's a failure actually, and it's a failure politically. The latest AP poll showing Biden's approval rating on the border at just 24% among all adults. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is a huge issue when it comes to voting. 24%, 44% of Democrats approve of this, and that's shockingly high in my opinion. Only 8% of Republicans approve of it. That's high as well. And there aren't many Democrats who can even defend it anymore. Liberal, very liberal Senator Sheldon Whitehouse of Rhode Island telling The Hill most of what's going on there is within the purview of the executive branch. They don't want to own this. He doesn't want to own this. This is on them. This is the White House, not me. Meanwhile, there's the border czar Kamala Harris. Where's she at? It's been a couple weeks. She hasn't gone to the border yet. She doesn't seem to care at all. Despite being given the task of speaking for the Biden administration on this crisis at the border, Kamala Harris hasn't even held a news conference. This was the reaction from the press when Harris was appointed.
Tonight, Vice President Kamala Harris has an important new job, leading the administration's effort to stem the surge of migrants crossing the southern border. So many are coming in that the administration is looking for new facilities to house them.
Biden facing growing pressure, today naming Vice President Kamala Harris in charge of stemming migration from Central America.
President Biden today announcing Vice President Harris will take charge of the growing crisis.
Take charge. I mean, can you imagine if you got hired to do a job, you didn't show up for the first 2 weeks? How would that go? That's what we have. But we have an answer. We have actually found Kamala Harris. Today, the vice president visited Brown Sugar Bakery on 75th Street in Chicago. There she is, enjoying some sweet treats with a woman-owned bakery, I should say, with the Attorney General in Chicago and Illinois, Kim Foxx, the same AG who's watching her city deteriorate through gun violence. Sitting there snacking it up, going for the photo op. Two women that should have a lot more stuff to do and should be a lot busier.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.